Okay, I'm just trying to get as the light really is rubbish. It's a rubbish day again out there. I know when to pick to do my videos, don't I? So yeah, it's quite a stylish. Sorry, it keeps going out of focus. I don't know why. So yeah, it's quite a stylish set, as you can see, in silver. It's a good solid set. Obviously, I say being plasma, it's a good heavy, none of these plasticky that you get nowadays with LCD TVs. It's really well made, and you get a proper screen with these as well. Now, I do believe this one came with various stand options. I think this was the best one, but you could also get it with a straight stand and a glass stand as well. So there was a number, you could buy the TV, and then there was a number of options. I believe if you Google it, you'll see the picture of the various other stands. I have actually got the instruction book for this, but I haven't got it with me. It's in my container. So when I do get the instructions, I will show them you when we'll do another quick video on it when I've got the instructions. So I know I have got the full instructions as from when it was new. So yeah, it's a very good quality stand. It's actually a swivel, so you can. Let me just. I don't know whether I can. You can actually swivel it, which is a good feature. Quite like that. Don't get that much even today. So yeah, it's a very good feature, and again, very solid. It's in immaculate condition. There's the odd scratches on here, but it's for the age of the set, it's in brilliant condition. So down the front here, we've got the power on and off on there, and it's currently in standby at the moment. That's why it's got the red light, so it shows the red light when it's on standby. I believe these lights here, I think that's, well, it's showing a clock there, so I'm guessing that flashes or it lights when you've set a timer for it to come on in the morning. If you want to use it as an alarm clock, you can set it to switch on as well. I'm guessing that one of them, I'm not quite sure because there's nothing on it, one of them will be the infrared sensor for the remote control, and that's another thing I'll show you in a minute, the actual remote control to it. And I'm not sure what that one is. I think that must be another kind of sensor for maybe controlling the light if you want to, in certain viewing conditions, possibly. Not quite sure about that one. As I say, I've only owned it about, well, it was this time last year when I actually purchased it from a second-hand shop in Swad. So we've got the control panel here, so it's just pull. Let's see what we've got in here. So as you can see there, you've got the manual controls and some connections on there as well. So if you do lose your remote control or you can't find your remote control, you can perform basic functions of the set. So obviously quite clear, you've got a volume up and down, or selections up and down. TV AV, so that'll be for selecting like from the TV source to the AV source. Not quite sure what that one is. STR, not quite sure that. There you've got a standard headphone socket there, which I always use quite handy. So obviously for if you're listening to watching the telly late at night and you don't want to disturb anybody else. You've got an S-video connection there for connection to a video camera. Probably a connection that's not very used much nowadays because everything's sort of HDMI or mini HDMI, so it's not a connection you probably use much nowadays. And then again there you've got a pair of component sockets there, video in. And left and right audio, again for a simple connection to a video camera as well. So you don't have to muck around plugging things in and going behind the telly. You can quite easily connect a video camera or indeed something else that's got component connections on it there. I must say this comes from an era where the sound was still brilliant, because nowadays TVs are so thin, so they really do suffer with poor sound, but actually on this set, because it's still quite solid, the sound is very impressive. I believe it's 20 watts audio, so It's perhaps one of the last of the TVs that still had decent sound, and although I have got it connected to a sound bar, you really don't need it. It's good, very good standalone sound on this, with quite good bass on as well. So very impressed with the sound quality. I'll just grab the remote control. That's the remote control there. So yeah, quite a good sturdy unit. Nice to hold in your hand, nice and comfy. Buttons are well laid out, nice sizable buttons. No fiddly little buttons on it. However, you got your power on, all your main controls there. I believe that back in the day, you could, if you got a Panasonic video or a Panasonic you could directly interconnect between the two with that. You got your fast text buttons, teletext buttons on there back when you were still using teletext. Obviously your channel buttons and that, for punching in any numbers. Volume up and down, channel change up and down, and then you've got your bits. There's your video and DVD. So you can also use this remote control as if you've got a Panasonic DVD or video. You could actually use the TV remote to control the basic functions of your TV, of your DVD and video as well. Now this ID TV, I do believe that this range of TVs contained a security feature where you could actually program it with a security code, so that if anybody pinched it or whatever, it would be worthless to them, because unless they knew what your code was. I've never bothered setting it up, but it might have been something, because back in the day you'd have been looking at about 1,500 quid. This was a top telly, back in its day. You'd have been looking at about 1,500 quid for this when it was new, if you Google it. So it was an expensive telly back in the day. You wouldn't have wanted it being pinched. So yeah, so let's just go round the back to see what we've got round the back here. Now you'll notice that plasmas are still quite complex in compared to LCDs or LEDs. You've got a couple of fans there, which keeps the whole thing nice and cool. Some say it's a bit noisy, but it's not really. Not when you've got the sound on, and they tend to be a bit noisy when you first kick it up, and then they sort of quiet down a bit. So, but yeah, that's probably a sign of its age. You wouldn't get that nowadays. So yeah, it's really lovely at the back here. Let's have a look what we've got in terms of. I could do with fetching it out a bit. Oh, I've just pulled something out. Right, so yeah, down the back here you've got a couple of HDMI connections, which is obviously probably the most common type of connection used nowadays. Most TVs of this quality nowadays would probably have 3 or 4 HDMIs, but obviously this being 2006, obviously HDMI was still very much in its infancy and probably wasn't really used that much. There wouldn't have been much HD sort of material out back then, so you probably wouldn't have even used them. You'd have probably still been using the old SCARTs at that point. So it's got the 2 HDMI. This is a 720p display, by the way, not a full 1080p. This is only a 720, so it's not the full HD resolution. So you've got 2 HDMI, you've got a PC input there for connecting straight to a computer. Just move that out of the way. Which some people would use for connecting. So you've got to connect your laptop or whatever to the big screen. We have got a couple of left and right audio connections on there. You've got the 3 SCARTs, which most people will be familiar with from older technology. Back in the day, well before HDMI came on the scene, they would have been the most commonly used connections on your TV. So you connected your video with it, you connected your DVD player, and pretty much anything really. Back in the day, all used SCART, and they say for years and years they were the main sockets that are used on any TV. So obviously it's quite rare. Most TVs you buy now, brand new, don't even have SCART. So because again, it's old technology, so really SCARTs aren't used anymore. So I've got I'm not sure, VCR connected with that at the moment. So that's why that's in there. And then you've got all these component audio in and component sockets on the back. So it's quite pretty well laid out with socketry on this telly. There's pretty much everything offered. There's not much that you can't connect really to this TV. Pretty much well laid out. I think that thing there is a common interface. I think that was possibly used for if you wanted it, wanted to expand your Freeview channels. I think you could buy a card or something like so you could expand your Freeview channels. I don't think many people ever bothered with that. Obviously I don't think that's ever even been off. It's on most TVs that have got Freeview, but as I say, I don't think many people bothered with that. And then you've got the power cable which plugs straight in there for you, so it's got a separate power cable on there as well. And then obviously you can see how it fixes to the very, very nice quality indeed. It was still back in the day when tellies were really, really nice quality, really good and solid. So that's about it at the back. Not much more to show you at the back there. So let me get up now. Oh dear me, I'm getting old. Oh sugar. So that's an overview of the TV. Let's close that back now. So let's power her up and see what I'm sure this is zoomed in. Zoomed in. Right, so power on. So you'll probably hear the fans kick in. So the LED blinks a couple of times there to show the TV's in powering up mode, and you can actually hear the fan. I don't know, can you hear the fan? There's two fans there, and I know what I've done now. When I've been kneeling down, I've actually managed to unplug the Sky cable box, so I just need to pause this for a minute while I go around and connect it back in. It's a bit loose, so I just need to go and put that back in. Bear with me a minute.